Ka-ching, and talk about the big money out there tonight. Google stock up $4.75 today. That's about $160 million on paper for each of the founders, Sergey Brin and Larry Page. I think they're going to have a good weekend. And when you make that much and created a company that's now a verb, there is only one thing you need: your own wide-body jet. So they bought this used Qantas 767 jet for the low bargain basement price of $15 million. Now, they just need to get that kangaroo off the tail and decorate the inside. Larry Page tells the Wall Street Journal the jet will have seating for 50 when it's finished. Now, those familiar with the jet's makeover say it will have a seating area, 2 staterooms with adjoining lavatories and a shower, then a large sitting and dining area with 12 to 16 first-class seats for guests or employees, and a large galley at the back. Not too shabby, but that sounds a bit plain to us. So we turn to the people at the Robb Report and their annual Ultimate Gift Guide. Edese Doret has designed corporate jet interiors for some of the world's richest, and he has a few ideas for the Google guys. I mean, when you take a look at this, this has to be the ultimate project for a guy like you. I mean, what are the possibilities of fantasy in the air here?
Well, with these guys, I mean, you know, with their wide or broad imagination, I would think maybe they would want a meditation room where they could come up with some of these brash ideas. You know, game room, pop-up monitors with internet access so they could constantly be connected to the internet. I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, whatever, you know, they shouldn't be limited by anything but their imagination.
Let's talk about some of the projects that you've done, and I think we're looking at one right here. Pretty sweet stuff.
The A380,
yeah.
The holy grail of all projects, basically.
So what goes into this when you're trying to come up with this kind of design?
Basically, it's driven by the client's criteria and the type of mission that they'll be using the aircraft for. In this particular airplane, there's a forward entry area with access to the lower lobe, which will also give you access to the tarmac, because this particular aircraft is going to be fitted out with an air stair that goes to the tarmac, similar to the Air Force One air stair. On the upper deck is the owner's stateroom with an adjoining private lavatory with a nice jacuzzi for the owner's wife. In the back of the airplane, there's what I call the Kima Lounge, which will give them the feeling of being in a desert, basically, once the curtains are open and drawn. And you have a view of the pressure dome with a star pattern ceiling and, you know, pillows on the ground. And so basically you feel like, you know, Ali Baba and the Four Sheiks.
No, I mean, these pictures we're looking at, I mean, it looks like we could be in some Park Avenue apartment in Manhattan. I mean, really, you can come up with just about anything to fit the taste of the person who's hiring you.
Basically, that's what I try to do. And with this airplane, I took a departure from the traditional interiors. I used a lot more wood on the floors, some non-standard type looking seating, basically, and use a lot more metallic finishes rather than you know, embellishing the aircraft with all gold.
What about the price? I mean, that's obviously the big issue when anybody wants to do this. How much does something like this cost?
Well, an aircraft of this size, I would say, to complete it would be about $100 million.
For the Google guys?
If they were to get an A380.
Well, how much is it going to cost for them for the 767?
The 767, they'd probably spend about $21 million for aircraft that size, depending on what's going in. You know, entertainment drives the cost, finishes, and also the certification of the aircraft as well. Yeah,
but they'll pretty much, obviously the sky's the limit for those guys. Is there anything you cannot do? I mean, have you looked at a project before and someone's asked for something and you said, you know what, I can't do that? Any examples of anybody who has hired you and said, we really want this, and you've had to come back to them and say, just can't do it?
No, I haven't had that yet. I mean, basically, it's all scheduling. You know, most folks want their aircraft back fast, and things like that. We can't turn around and, you know, deliver an aircraft in 3 months, let's say.
Who's a typical client? We're talking CEOs, we're talking Hollywood stars?
Typically Fortune 500 corporations. I do a lot of head of state aircraft. A lot of private individuals.
Give us any names?
No. Sorry.
Come on, you didn't know that was part of the deal here?
No, I can't do that. Non-disclosure.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google you, and then I'll find the names maybe. But tell us about this picture we're looking at right here specifically.
That's the Grand Lounge on the A380. That's the view looking aft towards the back of the airplane. This is on the main deck, and basically what you're seeing in the center there, just below, is the divan, and that's where the owner would sit. And basically, this is a head of state aircraft, and so maybe his ministers would be sitting around him in that particular setting.
Excellent. Thanks so much. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me on.
Edese Doret, and Thanks very much for joining us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow, or I should say Monday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on The Money. From all of us here at CNBC Global Headquarters, good night.